Our Fallout investigation began 5 years ago with the tragic story of a fallen star. Zach Farmer was an All-American on his way to the big leagues.
You're watching him as a dad live his dream.
Oh, absolutely. Best thing in the world.
But leukemia struck when Zach was just 19. As he battled to make it back to the mound,
That's all he wanted to do.
Just get back and play the game.
Get back and play the game.
the cancer came back, and Zach began to question where he grew up. Here at this house on the fence line, a little more than a mile from the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, or PORTS, a massive Cold War facility that enriched uranium for America's nuclear bombs.
We lived in a hot spot.
On August 4th, 2015, Zach died.
That was my best friend and my son.
He was 21 years old. Kate Smith was about to enter 8th grade when tumors began appearing.
You could see it right in here.
The tumors were caused by rhabdomyosarcoma, a rare cancer without a cure.
Basically a death sentence in the hospital.
In 2013, Kate died.
They took something special from me.
She was just 15 years old. 7 years ago, a scientist arrived and began digging into contamination in Pike County. At his lab at Northern Arizona University,
I know very well that there is an awful lot riding on these measurements.
Dr. Michael Ketterer confirmed enriched uranium particles from ports inside the same school where Kate Smith, Zach Farmer, and nearly a dozen other kids with deadly cancers attended. Zahn's Corner was closed, even though the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, which owns ports, insists there was and is no health or safety threat inside.
Save our kids! Save our kids!
5 years later, protesters gathered at Zahn's Corner when word spread that the still contaminated school was about to be sold.
Insanity. What are you thinking?
The decision to sell came down to the cost of upkeep for a cash-strapped district. Why on earth are you doing this?
Well, from our perspective, we spend a lot of money on that school to keep it functional.
Despite the protests, the school building was auctioned off.
275's bid, somebody bid 280.
The high bidder, a local church that now owns and occupies the old school. Dr. Ketterer continued digging, collecting and finding radioactive contamination from ports in soil, water, air, dust, even in plants growing around ports.
It seems to me more appropriate to do what I'm doing and just go here and there and try to see where can you find the breadcrumbs of the contamination out there in the environment.
In 2023, I suited up in full protective gear to help follow those breadcrumbs inside the home of Charles Chick Lawson, a former OSHA investigator at ports who lives 10 miles from the plant. I went up to the attic to help vacuum dust and debris. Dr. Ketterer confirmed what we collected was heavily contaminated with enriched uranium.
They're alpha-emitting isotopes. You don't want to breathe them in.
Are you scared?
Yes, I'm terribly scared.
Just as stunning a major moment in my investigation where I revealed at least trace amounts of plutonium was processed at ports in the 90s.
The chemical and radiological toxicity associated with plutonium is many, many times worse than uranium.
And the source of that plutonium was Russia.
Russian-based fallout, it's in the community.
Under an international agreement called megatons to megawatts, the U.S. government bought 20,000 nuclear warheads from the former Soviet Union, converted them to uranium, then shipped and processed it all to just one place, ports. Yet DOE's assistant secretary in charge of cleanup at ports and hundreds of other nuclear sites across the country denied plutonium was ever processed at the plant.
That was all uranium from Russia.
No plutonium.
No, it was uranium.
It just seems like There's so many things pointing to a problem here.
And I agree.
Former Assistant Secretary Ann White sat down with me for a candid conversation in Marquette, Michigan, admitting the government's own radiation dose calculations may not be enough for the Department of Energy's claim that everything is safe around ports.
Is there a chance that DOE doesn't yet know everything that it needs to know about what the effect is?
Absolutely. Do I think there could be an impact to human health there? Yeah, I think there could be. Do I think we should figure that out? Yes, I do.
Yet the government continues to insist there is no health threat posed by ports. But DOE has no answer to cancer and death rates uncovered by Joe Mangano, a renowned epidemiologist who I visited in Ocean City, New Jersey. In 2022, Mangano exclusively talked to me about his study that revealed Pike County has among the highest cancer and premature death rates in the country.
That's alarming.
It should be to anybody who is concerned about the health of its residents.
And it's getting worse. In follow-up studies Mangano found from 2021 through 2023, Pike County's premature death rate, that's people 74 years or younger, had risen to 107% above the U.S. average. That's more than double the death rate.
In 35 years of doing this research and looking at death rates near many nuclear plants, I have never seen a death rate this high.
And Mangano discovered from 2017 to 2021, the death rate for 25 to 54-year-olds in Pike and 6 adjoining counties, Adams, Scioto, Lawrence, Gallia, Jackson, and Vinton, was 109.6% above the national average.
They're among the highest death rates any county in the United States.
Much higher than other similar counties in southern Ohio, too.
The Portsmouth plant has to be considered not just a factor, but likely to be a major factor in this surge.
Deadly cancer around ports is as much a part of the landscape as the massive plant itself. From children taken too soon,
Acute myeloid leukemia.
They had leukemia.
to parents gone but not forgotten,
multiple myeloma,
Metastatic liver cancer.
and victims who struggled to survive, including a mother who's losing her battle with breast cancer.
It's terminal.
No hope?
No.
Here in this Appalachian section of southern Ohio that's so often overlooked,
We've got alarming cancer rates.
the faces of fallout are everywhere.
seems like anybody dies, they die from cancer.
That's why I've been working so hard for months.
I'm really looking forward to talking to you, so call me.
In partnership with local moms turned activists
I'm tired of seeing my friends and my family die.
and organizers.
I promised to get their voices heard.
We're going forward with the town hall.
Meeting with elected leaders.
We're giving the microphones to the cancer victims.
Health officials.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Scientists and regulators.
I want to try to have a real conversation.
Now the stage is set for a historic town hall at the Piketon High School auditorium, where hundreds of local cancer victims and their families will finally be heard.
Thanks for being here. It was suggested before we begin the actual program that we ought to address the pain in this room. The only way to do that is through prayer. And I want to invite Daryl Wood to come up here. He's a reverend, but he also worked at ports and other sites across the country as a radiological engineer and trainer. So if you could give us a prayer, sir.
Thank you. I'm going to pray momentarily. I'd ask that if you are living for Jesus Christ as Lord, that you pull with me by faith. Father, I thank you that you identify as the God of truth. And Lord, when you came and walked this earth, you said that there's nothing covered, but that it would be revealed. And there's nothing hidden, but that it would be made known and come to light. And you spoke of things that people whispered in the inner rooms. And you said those things would be proclaimed upon the housetops. So I'm praying, Father, today that there's an exposure, that there's a fresh release of truth and understanding of things that have long been hidden. And I pray in conjunction with that, Father, that this be a launching point today for justice to come forth for those who have suffered. But Lord, I don't want to just stop there. I'm not just praying for justice. I'm praying that this is also a launch point for healing for so many who have suffered on so many different levels. Father, I'm praying that this is a beginning of healing physically, emotionally, of the trauma. Father, I pray that you do a work and that today marks a beginning of that healing work. And I'm asking this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you so much for the prayer. I think it's appropriate, don't you? Welcome to what we think is going to be a truly historic town hall. We're coming live to those who are joining us online from the Piketon High School auditorium. And in the crowd to acknowledge we have a lot of cancer victims. But then again, in the area, that's nothing new to you, is it? We have elected leaders, thank you. We have scientists, thank you, who are here to address some of these concerns, and so you get some clarity. We can cut through the noise. We're live stream again, local12.com, Local 12 Facebook page, Local 12 WKRC's YouTube channel. If you don't know me, I'm Duane Pohlman. I'm the Chief Investigative Reporter at Local 12 WKRC in Cincinnati. Over the past 5 years, as you saw, my Fallout investigation has exposed, with a lot of help from the people who are around here, some of the contamination, cancer, and death here in this county and beyond. And I want to be clear. I want to make this crystal clear. Contamination from the Portsmouth Gaseous Diffusion Plant, PORTS, or as you call it, the A plant, is in your communities. No question about it. It has drifted miles from the plant. The question that remains the hurdle is it dangerous? I know what the answer is by most people in this room. Absolutely. But the Department of Energy, DOE, which owns the plant, has insisted it is not. WKRC TV and our sister stations have aired more than 30 investigative reports over the past 5 years. We've gained national attention, no question about it, garnered some major awards, but DOE, which is in control of the science, has the final say here about what is safe. That's where we're stuck. So we're here today to do something that needed to be done a very long time ago. We're putting the focus on you, the victims who are suffering. And because we're here together today, I really am hopeful. I'm hopeful that we send a powerful message to our elected leaders in Columbus and in Washington to listen and to do something. One note, and I want to be just programming note. We're going to get through a lot of people today. Please, if you have something to say, keep it brief, please, out of respect for the others, so we can get to everybody today. I want to take a moment and I want to do something that will hopefully demonstrate what you're facing. I want to ask all of you several questions. I need your help. If you can answer yes to what I'm about to ask, please stand if you're able and remain standing. Okay, we good? Who in this room is battling cancer right now? Please stand. Who here has battled cancer in the past? Join them. Please stand. How many of you have had at least one loved one die from cancer? How many of you have had a loved one, friend, neighbor, or someone you know with cancer? Please stand. Now, I want you to raise your hands if you blame our government, the U.S. Department of Energy and Ports, for causing your cancers. That's exactly why we're holding this town hall. You can go ahead and take a seat. Thank you. Hopefully we'll let the world know today what's really happening in this fine area of the state that's often ignored. I want to address the workers. You workers at ports have suffered from cancer and disease at alarming rates, death as well. You lost your friends. There is a program to compensate you. The Energy Employees Occupation Illness Compensation Program is through the Act. It could be argued that's not effective, but that's not why we're here today. Most of you who were not workers, you're victims enduring awful cancers and deaths in your community around ports for no other reason than where you live. That's it. You just live here. Now, I want to talk about the event. Getting this organized really has not been easy. You can look over there and they'll agree. We worked nonstop for many months. It's been the hardest thing. I'm about 4 decades into investigative reporting. I promise you this was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. But I couldn't have done it without 3 moms. They're sitting right there. I want you to stand and at least when I call your name. Gina Doyle, the administrator of Don't Dump on Us. That's a page that her sister Marilyn Eisen started. Marilyn, could you stand? So let me tell you why that's meaningful. That's the start of all this. You kept the heartbeat of victims alive, and you gave them a forum. That led to where we are today, and I can't thank you enough for all of this. Emily Stone, please stand. Emily is the daughter of Brian Waller. Brian was a guard at ports for more than 35 years. He died of leukemia, ALL leukemia. Emily has been a force turning comments on everywhere and relentlessly identifying the victims. And she's been crucial to the organization of this town hall. And by the way, has learned Excel spreadsheets very well. Thank you. Thank you very much for your work. Shauna Mullins. Shauna Mullins I met not that long ago when we were talking about what happened to her. She had a beautiful son, Garrett. He died from leukemia. Shauna jumped in here, and she conducted outreach, gave us incredible organization, and she kept going even though her husband was just diagnosed with cancer. Thank you, Shauna, for being here. Our prayers with your family. I also owe a huge thanks to our station. And I'm going to tell you, this is unusual. WKRC TV and the Sinclair Broadcast Group, they have given us extraordinary commitment to journalism. This is what it is, folks. Journalism really means putting yourself all in to tell the truth. I can't do this without them saying, yeah, you're okay to do this, which is day after day of exploration and putting these stories together. Tim Garrity, please stand. He is the news director at Local 12. Tim said yes when I talked to him 5 years ago, when I said to him, I want to cover this issue. We need to investigate, blah, blah, blah. And you're not in our viewing area, as you know. So that is unheard of. But guess what? You've been shown everywhere. Other stations have picked it up because they want to know. They're following your journey. Franco Gentile is here. He's our new general manager. And I will say, a class act who supports meaningful work. And I'm so glad you're with us. Jamie Justice, the group news director, couldn't be here. She's with the Sinclair Television Group. Jamie, I've known for 20 plus years. Jamie supported this at a deep level to get to other places as well. Look, we're here today because they care. It's not just me, they care. And I really believe that you need to know that with journalism under attack, that we are people who do care about you. I also want to thank the Piketon Police Department, Police Chief Jim Nelson, where are you? Thank you, Chief Nelson, and the Pike County Sheriff Tracy D. Evans, who are providing security here today. They didn't blink. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Scientists, researchers, former guards, workers, activists, and elected leaders have all pushed back against the federal government for many years, in some cases, decades. They've uncovered the facts and continue speaking truth to power. I have 5 years, we're talking about decades for some of these people who have been at the table trying to make a difference. They're here today in the front row, and I want to honor them. They're our guests of honor. I'm going to introduce you, I'll do it quickly. Vina Colley is the president of PRESS, that's the Portsmouth Piketon Residents for Environmental Safety and Security, co-founder of the National Nuclear Workers for Justice. And when I talk about decades at the table, and relentless, by the way, force going after the truth, she's been here, and we thank you. Jeff Walburn. Jeff Walburn's a former anti-terrorism guard at Ports. Jeff nearly died from his injuries. He's spent years documenting the issues and pushing back. Stay standing. Charles Chick Lawson is here as well. He's a former guard and OSHA safety officer at Ports. Chick suffers from several conditions. He's on oxygen all the time. He has joined with Jeff, and they've been a real force on trying to get the truth out, and they pushed me harder than anyone too. Ohio Nuclear Free Network. Pat Morita, Lee Blackburn. Is Diana here? Okay. All right. Thank you. You have been at the table for what, like almost 15 years trying to push. Carl Hartley, where are you? Hi, Carl. Carl's the former member of the Site-Specific Advisory Board. He's a former union safety representative as well. I think in his capacity, he was the longest lasting. Carl will tell you what you think, right? You will tell absolutely the truth. Daryl Wood, who you heard from, Daryl is the radiological engineer trainer at Ports. We've had several discussions, been valuable. Thank you very much, Daryl, and thank you for the prayer as well. Jason Sally, where are you? Jason's over there in the corner. Jason Sally's the investigative journalist, founder of the Ohio Atomic Press. Jason broke many stories and, quite frankly, is an incredible researcher. Bobby Vaughn, please stand. Bobby is an investigative researcher and really understands Freedom of Information Act. Some of his documents that he's turned up have revealed so much about what's going on here. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and thank you for everything you've done. I want to introduce the stage. It's a lot of introductions here, so I'll get through it quickly. Behind me, Dennis Foreman, Piketon Village Council. Wes Hairston is over here. Wes is the superintendent of the Scioto Valley Local Schools. He's a member of, I think, of the COG too, as well. The Council of Governments, you have a seat at that table. Stay where you are. It was not quite yet. But he also provided this space. Never blinked. Thank you so much. Jerry Miller is a Pike County Commissioner who I've come to respect greatly. He's courageous and he speaks his mind. He is not afraid. And I really, truly mean that. I respect you. Not yet. When I asked the questions, you were fine. Matt Brewster. Matt Brewster is the Pike County Health Commissioner, providing great insight, working relentlessly. A man who I absolutely am astounded by his genius and his contribution in giving is Dr. Michael Ketterer. He's been amazing, unbelievable. All the stuff that we know about contamination in terms of scientifically, he's doing voluntarily for you. Dr. David Minuta is the former chief scientist at Ports. Dr. Minuta has provided great insight and done so much for us. And joining us by Zoom from New Jersey is Joseph Mangano. He's the epidemiologist and executive director of the Radiation and Public Health Project in New York. His material on numbers of death are unbelievable. I want to give you information that I was contemplating how to give you. All these people showed up. I invited the U.S. Department of Energy more than 24 times. They're not here. The Ohio Department of Health politely declined. Ohio EPA said, we will not attend, but would not tell me why. And the current members of the Portsmouth Site-Specific Advisory Board, I went in person to invite them. They have not attended either. I want you to know that. All right, on this, let's begin our discussion. I want to start with epidemiologist Joseph Mangano, playing a critical role in understanding the magnitude of cancer and death in Pike County. Joe, your studies have been unbelievably crucial. You revealed cancer and death rates that are double here in Pike County. You uncovered premature death rate in Pike County. That's 107% above the U.S. average, more than double the rest of the country. I want to ask you, Joe, are these numbers for cancer and death the highest you've seen? And please tell us how significant that is.
They're very significant, Duane. First of all, these are official statistics from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The important part is to understand that going back to the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, Pike County had a cancer death rate below the U.S., about 12% below the United States for quite some time. And beginning in the 1970s and continuing up till today, that status as a low cancer county not only disappeared, but was replaced by a high cancer county, to the point where now the cancer death rate in Pike County is well below, above the U.S., and especially the premature cancer death rate. In other words, people who die of cancer before the age of 75 is extremely high. Probably among the 3,000 counties in the United States, Pike County is in the top 100, maybe even higher than that.
All right, Joe, let me interrupt you because
the rates for people who are 75 and older are similar to the United States.
Joe, are you there? Can you hear me?
And I should say, to add to that, while the cancer death rates are high, they are high in Pike County for all causes of cancer combined. As you said, most recently 107%, or more than double of the U.S. And we see especially high rates for lung diseases, including lung cancer, influenza, pneumonia, chronic pulmonary disease, and COVID-19.
All right, Joe, I hope you can hear us now, but all I want to get to is the secondary question. As quickly on the answer as possible, I want to know about this. The pushback is, well, it's Appalachia, Ohio. They smoke more, they're heavier, they don't eat well. I hear this as a pushback, but you have an answer to that, don't you?
Duane, our group did 22, 23, and 24. After the first report came out and we saw these high rates, the questions were raised. What else might be the cause of this unexpected change from a low cancer to a very high cancer county? There are many factors that can cause cancer or raise the risk of death. Well, what we did was we looked at not just Pike County, but Pike plus the 6 closest counties, all relatively close to Portsmouth. And we compared them with 6 other counties in Ohio, all in Appalachia, all with relatively similar rates of poverty, rates of smoking, lack of access to medical care, and so on. The only difference between the groups is one is close to Portsmouth, the other is far from Portsmouth. And we found that at least half, probably well more than half of the high rate cannot be explained by it's just Appalachia.
So, Joe, you're saying, and we'll come back to you in a bit, but you're saying a couple of things. We have a high cancer rate, no matter how you look at it. We have a high death rate. The factors that are the criticism about the studies have been answered. You have more than double the death in cancer here. There's no question about it. Now, every time I come back here to Pike County, I'm here a lot. I hear stories about more victims, right? It's kind of your thing. It's more and more victims, more and more families suffering from deadly cancers. Many people have told me it's unusual when someone around here dies from something other than cancer, right? It's an anomaly. Let's go ahead and talk to some of the people about what's going on in their families. Brenda, if you can, you want to stand up with me? This is Brenda Sevens. Also, we're going to talk to your nephew in a bit. You have at least 11 members who have had cancer. That includes your mom, thyroid cancer, your sister died of breast cancer. Yes. You said, it's too much loss. I can't process this. Yeah. Is cancer a way of life for your family?
It has been, yes. We've buried from my 13-year-old nephew through the generations to my mom. And it's something that in each one of us, I've had cancer 3 different times. Mom had 4 different kinds. My sister had cancer twice. That was just in our family.
Just immediate. Yes. And you live in the Jasper area now, but you lived in Piketon as well.
Yes.
Okay.
10 miles.
Let me get to where you were talking about your own cancer journey. I understand they just found another spot.
I have to go this month for a diagnostic mammogram, and I have an ovarian cyst and tumors in my uterus that it has to be addressed. So yes, I may be facing more surgery.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing what you shared here. I appreciate it. You're in our prayers. I'm so sorry what's happening to you. All right, so we're going to go to Jennifer Mead. Jennifer, you can stand up, please. First of all, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Today's your birthday.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
You hanging in there?
Yeah.
All right. You've had a few tough years, haven't you?
Yeah, 19 months to be exact.
You lost your husband.
Yes.
What did he die of?
Adenocarcinoma.
In his esophagus.
That's where it started.
Not a smoker.
Not a smoker, not a drinker, nothing.
Do you blame what happened to your husband? I'm going to make sure you lived on Waldron Hill Road. Is that correct? You live in Beaver, Ohio now?
Yes.
Do you blame the plant for what happened to you?
Yes.
You also have other family members. Let me just give a list.
Yes.
You have your father, Donald's father, blood cancer. Donald's father-in-law died of cancer. Uncle Johnny Mead, skin cancer. Uncle uncle, husband's grandfather. Goes on and on.
Yes.
Is cancer like your reality, and how worried are you?
It's the reality for the Meade family, absolutely.
I appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next. Tesla. Hi, Tesla. You live on O'Brien Road in Lucasville.
Yeah.
You have a SPINK1 mutation. I had to look that up. I
Yeah.
never knew what that was. What a SPINK1 mutation is a precursor to pancreatic cancer. You get annual checks, you're screening. Man, you're awfully young to be dealing with all of this. How old are you?
I'm almost 33.
Yeah. And you went and got checked, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Why'd you get checked?
I've lost 17 members of my family on every side to cancer.
17 members of your family and one close family friend.
Yes.
In your family. On and on it goes. How many worked at Ports?
I have 5 of them.
Just 5?
Yeah.
Do you realize, all of you, how unusual it is for this level of cancer? She just said 17 family members, people. 17.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's happening so much?
The plant. We all know that. We've known that forever.
All right, Tesla, thank you. I want to stop and ask a question of our councilman, Dennis Foreman. Can you come to the podium? Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Duane.
It's good to see you again.
Well, it's good to be seen. Thank you.
Dennis lost his mother to multiple myeloma. That was in 2013.
Yes.
He lost his grandmother to the same cancer.
Yes.
You're a leader here in Piketon, sir.
Yes, sir.
How hard is it for you to handle cancer, not only in the community, but in your own family?
Well, my grandmother's my hero. I remember getting my permit and driving. My grandmother, we didn't know what it was at the time. It was back in 96. Oh, no, not even 96. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. It was 86. I'm getting older, Duane. Sorry. My grandmother died of multiple myeloma. And then my mother, my hero, she found out multiple myeloma. You couldn't even touch my mom because the pain was so excruciating. My neighbor died of multiple myeloma. Now his grandson dates my niece, my great niece. It's such a small world. We laid my grandfather the rest, but then my uncle just got laid to rest Monday. I lost my father in February, just lost my Uncle Harold. And there's my first cousin. He has multiple myeloma. When I first come into here, I was having a talk with one of my local people when you talk about how's it feel to be in a community. We went to school together. She's sitting out there. She knows me well. Her mother's going through the same thing. And we both said as two adults, when am I next? It's almost like taking a roulette wheel and spinning the wheel and thinking, do I get checked today? I'm hurting. Is it going to be my turn? Like most of you in this room, you probably think, when am I next? What cancer am I getting?
So you worry all the time, as most people around here do, when is it my turn? When is cancer coming to me?
Yes.
Do you believe the U.S. Department of Energy, or DOE, is responsible for the cancer and deaths here?
And you know, that's an interesting question. Growing up here, you get made fun of, say you glow everywhere you go. We've all heard that. But we do have a sense of pride. You know, I love coming from here. It's my community. And we saved the entire United States because of what we sacrificed. But in the back of our mind, even as a child riding by on my bicycle, I'd hold my breath because it looked like a bomb got dropped on us anyhow. As soon as you come into Piketon, there's a mushroom cloud. We all know growing up here. And it's hard to admit that that's what it is, but we all know that's what it is. It's just difficult to deal with, Duane.
The mayor and the council fought back against the on-site waste disposal facility. That's the landfill, the radioactive landfill. You presented solid evidence that would draw it into question whether it's going to be okay there. Yet Mayor Spencer, who couldn't be here today, says no one listened to you. How often and do this quickly, just,
yeah, I will.
are you ignored? Is that what's happening?
Yes, we are. We went to 5 counties and got them all to support us. Every single elected body supported us, over 250,000 people. I even took my own money and went to Vienna, Austria, and they were scared to death of us. But they still did not listen to us. And look how much rain we just got lately, people. Look at the rain. This is not a good area. In Duane, where he comes from, Cincinnati, there's so much water. This is the wrong place. If they don't listen, it's because of ignorance.
You told me just days ago during a meeting that preceded this that you're angry, that you're really angry.
Yes, I'm angry.
You broke out into tears.
Yes.
I didn't ask you at the time, are you angry about the sickness and death, or are you angry about your own government?
I'm angry because they don't care. Why don't you care about us? You don't care about me. You don't care about my family. You don't care about the people sitting in this room. What we sacrificed for an eternity made us the superpower. And now you're going to ignore us and bury it and run away. That's disgusting.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. I want to go to Kennedy Duxon. Where's Kennedy? Hi, Kennedy. Kennedy. Hi. How are you? You were diagnosed, first of all, you live in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
You were diagnosed in January of 2023 with essential thrombocythemia.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Myelofibrosis.
Yes. You have an extremely rare genetic mutation. You have a risk of blood clotting. You now have to get your blood checked every 6 months. Do doctors believe this will lead to cancer?
Yes.
Just a matter of time.
Yes.
You said that your doctor told you you will have cancer by age 40.
Yes, I'll need chemo by 40, yeah.
Are you scared?
Yes.
You found out 2 years ago, again, why did you check for what's going on with you?
I was sick all the time. I was having all different kinds of issues with my blood counts and stuff like that. I was just sick all the time, wasn't feeling good. So I found out when I was 20, and I'm 22 now, that I have a rare genetic mutation called JAK2, and that I have blood cancer.
Last question. You live a ways away from ports. There's a lot of sickness, by the way, that we're coming across in Portsmouth, the city. You don't have anyone, you have 7 members of your family have had cancer. Any of them connected to ports? To the plant, to the A plant?
No.
Who do you blame? What do you blame for what's happening with your family? 7 members, what do you blame?
I believe the Portsmouth plant because my genetic mutation is non-hereditary, is 100% environmentally caused, and I'm too young to have anything like this happen to me.
You absolutely are. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Kennedy. I want to go, thank you. I want to go to you, Vicki. This is Vicki McIntyre. Your father isn't with you today.
No, he isn't.
You were diagnosed in 2000 with DFSP. That's a rare, slow-growing skin cancer.
Sarcoma.
It's a sarcoma.
Yes.
Which is part of this.
Yes.
At 34, doctors told her, and listen to this, by the way, Kennedy, doctors told her that, Vicki, you won't make it past age 40. I don't often ask people's ages. How old are you now?
58.
Proved them wrong, didn't you?
That's right.
You stubborn?
Very.
That away. Your father was diagnosed with bladder cancer 3 years ago. You have a brother who has battled lymphoma.
Yes.
Your son had a tumor on his spine,
Yep.
removed 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
Not to mention all the aunts and uncles and grandparents.
I got them listed. 12 cancers, 9 deaths.
Yes.
That's not normal.
No, it isn't.
Are you frightened about what's happening?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I know the question begs the answer, but who do you blame?
I blame the atomic plant. It's the only common denominator.
Vicki, thank you. Thank you for your time. Hi, Jessica. Come on up here. Jessica lives outside of Lucasville on State Route 104. That's near the Pike County line. You can see ports from your door.
Yep.
You've had cancer in your family, mother, breast cancer, breast and skin cancer. grandfather, grandmother, both cancer, cousin who died 2023 from a brain tumor. You have cancer literally surrounding you and your family.
Yes, literally. I was diagnosed at 28 with invasive small cell neuroendocrine carcinoma, perfectly healthy at the time. My mom worked at the plant at the time she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her mom was diagnosed the following year. Within a 3-mile radius of my home, I have 32 friends, family, and neighbors diagnosed with cancer.
That's along State Route 104. And you have that many, and your mom documented that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I am 1 mile from the Pike County line.
You know cancer at this rate is not normal, right?
Right, no.
Okay, there's something that's been asked, I'll ask you, I can ask any one of you. People have said, why do you continue to live here? It's an insane question, really, because this is home, right? This is where family is. And the other part is, you were told everything was safe.
Right.
You're still told that.
Still told that, yeah.
Do you believe it?
Absolutely not.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your time. All right, let's get an expert in. Matt Brewster, if you can come to the podium. Matt's, again, the Pike County Health Commissioner. Matt's been doing a lot of work on this, and I feel like Matt screams into the silence sometimes. You told me 2 years ago, roughly, that well, actually, I think it's longer now. You told me years ago that cancer is happening here at alarming rates. You believe it's connected to ports?
There has to be a connection. I don't think any of us can deny that.
Okay, so the Department of Energy, DOE, as you know, and you deal with them, continues to say there is no connection to a health threat at all from our plant, that communities around here are safe. Do you believe them?
I think we just use DOE's own principle. So DOE operates on a principle that says anything that's added to background increases risk. Well, the plant's been operating for decades here, so they've been adding to background for 50 plus years or since the 50s, which means they've obviously increased the risk, however small that might be. It might not be small, but using their own principle and the things they operate on says they've increased risk simply being here.
Quick answer is you don't believe that,
No.
that it's safe. Study, 6-mile radius around ports, multi-year, more than 6 years. The big study, the ATSDR study from the Department of Health, the U.S., came to the conclusion that no health threat. Do you agree with that conclusion?
ATSDR reviewed available data. They didn't do anything new or take samples themselves, and the majority of the reports they looked at were averages, just like with the independent assessment. So we petitioned an independent assessment back in 2019 after the Zons Corner issue and the contamination found at the school. So we petitioned that, and the report from that, if you look at it as a whole, you think, well, it's really not too bad. But when you look at the individual reports, then there's a big difference. So there's a difference in averaging things than looking at an individual property and what that means to the homeowner.
So it was an average. It was not looking at the outliers.
No, that's something we're still trying to do. You know, look, there was 31 properties, and maybe this is a question coming up. There was 31 properties identified in the independent assessment that was petitioned by the health district, funded by DOE, and that, you know, that's another issue that a lot of people have. But they were the funders, and nobody else had the funding at that time, you know, to fund that.
There were
study.
31 properties that were above the safe limit, is what he's saying. It took into account the gardens. It took into account what they would have available to them. But in the report that says there's no health threat, the bottom line is behind that study, you had 31 properties, even with the DOE study, that rose above the level of safe. So not safe. Yet that has been buried to a certain
The EPA
extent.
has a level they considered safe or acceptable. And there's 31 properties. If you had a garden, if you ate a certain amount of vegetables, you broke what's considered safe or acceptable by the EPA.
All right, I'm going to ask you, yes or no. Are gardens around here safe?
Depends where they are. That's a study we're doing and looking in depth, and there'll be a report coming out late summer that shows that. There's never been a large-scale study that shows if contamination's in the soil, how much comes up through the root, to the vegetables, to the person. That's ongoing, and that was part of our independent assessment as well.
All right. I want to ask you, are fish contaminated with radioactive material, including plutonium, in this area?
Yes. There, as part of the independent assessment, just briefly, there was 21 samples, which is a very small sample. 8 locations, 9 of the 21 had a certain level of plutonium. So again, a lot of these things need looked at more in depth, but yes, there was plutonium in fish.
Where was that coming from?
Little Beaver Creek was one. There were several locations.
You know
there.
where Little Beaver Creek is, folks? Coming right, flowing out of the plant. We don't see signs or disclosures, don't fish here. We don't see anything that says don't swim here. Why not? What do you think?
According to the EPA, it's safe because to them, you're not going to eat that many fish where it becomes a problem. But
so a little plutonium's not going to be bad for you?
That's according to how the EPA's risk model works, correct.
And that is, at essence, what he's talking about, folks, is that the Department of Energy, federal, has a radiological risk assessment. It's a calculation. The calculation is what they rely on. And they say this is safe or not safe when they do the calculation. But did you hear this? We have gardens that are contaminated, we have homes that are contaminated, and fish that have plutonium in them. It's all safe, folks. One more question, and I'm going to drill down a little bit and quickly. You put a lot of faith. I was there when you said, we're going to do this study, and it's going to show everything that we need. Yes, it was funded by DOE. What did I say at the time? Are you sure about that? Do you think you're going to get it? When you came back and had this assessment and your narrative has been drowned out, isn't it time for an independent assessment of this community so that you get hard science and not what you saw here?
I don't think you can have too much data. An independent assessment, one thing that our independent assessment did not look at was groundwater. They wouldn't allow us to look at groundwater, private wells, waterways, to the extent that needs to be done. And more importantly, we talk a lot about radiological contamination. The independent assessment only looked at rad because that's all they would fund. They originally would fund the chemical part, they wouldn't. So all the cancers and the thyroid problems that we're talking about could just as easily be caused by chemical contamination, potentially coming from ports, just like we're talking about. So that hasn't been looked at independently, and absolutely does, and it's probably just as important or more important than the rad portion.
I'm getting that over and over, that if you take away the fact that this place made enriched uranium, you also have a lot of chemicals that need to be looked at, and the symbiotic effect. Did I get that right, Daryl? Yes, thank you. I thank you so much, Matt. I'm going to come back to you. Jerry Miller. Hi, Jerry. How are you doing?
Hi, Duane.
It's good that you came here. Just for background, I invited all 3 commissioners. This one showed up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think Ports is connected to the cancers and death here?
The short answer to that is yes. A more nuanced or more in-depth answer is how much and what in particular. But I don't see how anyone could look at the data and look at the folks in this room and listen to the stories and listen to the real life tragedy and loss that's taken place and not draw a correlation with something that produces some of the most volatile and dangerous substances on planet Earth. So yes, it is. To what degree, I don't know.
Ports pays well for jobs in an area that you don't get high-paying jobs here, do you? They're not available. Ports pays very well here.
They do.
I think the only one that competes is the prison, Lucasville, from a salary point of view. How much of a pressure of that economic reality is playing here on the examination of the real contamination threat?
That's a great question. Obviously, economically, what happens at that plant and the jobs that are created and the revenue created from that supports. If there are 2,000 people working out there, you can assume 2,000 families are being supported by the work that they do and the pay that they earn there. That said, there has been a reluctance that I have noticed from our federal delegation in particular in years past to not be as aggressive, and by aggressive I mean asking a question. I take great issue with that. Ask the question, it doesn't make you an enemy. I have to say yes, that the economic implication of losing jobs out there based on finding of contamination that would either put a pause on current activities or cost future jobs, it's absolutely a consideration. Is it a consideration for the commissioners? We don't want jobs to go away, but I live here. My family lives here. Your families live here, and it absolutely matters to me.
So I want to get through these quickly. I want to just a yes or no on this one. Okay. Dr. Ketterer played a crucial role in connecting current contamination. A lot of the contamination you're dealing with is historical. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But there's current evidence that Dr. Ketterer, and I'm going to talk to him a bit, figured out, connecting it to demolition and the movement of the material to the dump, all of that.
Yes.
Have you asked the DOE about that, and what are they telling you?
Have we asked?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, we asked. Yeah, we asked. A lot.
Did you get an answer?
Yeah, we got an answer, and it was totally unsatisfactory. If you can look at a video and you see a tarp that's blowing in the wind, and its job is to stop dust from getting into the wind and going off campus, and you see that tarp blowing, yeah. Are your safety protocols working? My answer to that is a hard and fast and factually indisputable yes. It's no, it's not working, and yes, there's a problem.
So you believe contamination is happening right now from the activities?
You know, if it's not happening now, it was happening before. Readings before and after showed that causation of these increased readings had to be or stood to reason to be from that. So yeah, I can't help but think that some level of contamination is escaping.
So one last question, hopefully we get there quickly. There are huge plans for this facility that you may not be aware of. Some may be. I know Vina and this group down here, they're well aware. You have a centrifuge right now running at ports. It is the only place in the country enriching uranium right now, at ports. You have a plan for micro reactors, nuclear reactors at ports. That's happening. You also have a plan even for an artificial intelligence center to draw energy from what is going to be produced out there. What has DOE shared with you about that?
DOE's involvement in that is a process wherein they remediate the contamination on a particular set or parcel of acreage. When it is dubbed clean, the plan is to then turn that acreage over to the county, when in fact it doesn't necessarily go to the county, it goes to SODI, Southern Ohio Diversification Initiative, whose responsibility is to transition from a former uranium enrichment location to a location that can be reindustrialized using the very robust infrastructure that exists here. One of maybe 2 or 3 locations in the country that has this type of infrastructure.
But are you concerned? We're back to enriching.
Are we concerned? Yes.
I mean, so the question, I don't want to be inflammatory, and I know the question is inflammatory in part. How on earth do you have a clean energy future if you haven't dealt with the dirtiness of the past?
Another good question. First of all, you have to remediate the ground that these new businesses are going to be located on, because DOE will not turn over something that is contaminated, at least not on purpose, okay? So wherever they're going to be located has to be dubbed usable and clean. Technology has obviously changed, and I'm not advocating for let's be nuclear in Pike County.
Right.
We need these jobs that is a safer, by and large, process than what existed in the 50s and 60s and so on. So the AI component with a data center, Oklo with building mini reactors, Trillium with potentially a hydrogen fuel processing location.
Yeah, we didn't talk about hydrogen fuel is also part of this.
All of these are, in my view, positive for Pike County based on what we've learned.
But isn't it a case where it's already contaminated out there, so it's reasonable to put it out there for the next wave?
You know, there are so many eyes on it now, Duane, to think it was reasonable 10 or 15 years ago or even 5 years ago. That's a possibility. With as many eyes as are on it now, and as much of a concern, and as the community at large has become more educated about this, I'm optimistic that whatever goes on out there is going to be excuse my language, a heck of a lot safer than it was in years past.
I'm okay with the other part, thank you.
I know you are, but...
Here's what I will tell you. Again, I have an amazing amount of respect for you. You always stand in front. I can't thank you enough.
Welcome.
All right. we're gonna come right here, over here to Larry, if you could stand up. Our investigation journey started with the story of your son, Zach, a once-in-a-generation star, unbelievable. And I still look at that story, Larry, and it still makes me cry. And I know you shared that when you never shared it, because I called you and I said one thing to you. Larry, where did you live?
In Schuster Road, 979, right beside the...
You were on the fence row.
Yeah.
You were a little more than a mile from the plant.
Yes.
I want to jump ahead.
Okay.
For those who don't know, Zach went to Ohio State. No question would have been in the big leagues.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he was offered that.
Could already went. Yeah.
He would have, I mean, he's just unbelievable. And what a young man. Everybody that talks about him says, as great as he was as a baseball player, he was even better as a person.
He was a humble guy.
So growing up on the fence line was what I talked to you about, and you didn't do an interview about the detail, but you were intrigued that I was looking at this because your son said to you when he was really sick and the cancer came back, he said, "Do you think we lived in the wrong place?"
That's correct. Yeah.
You moved.
Yeah, I did.
And when you moved when he was sick.
Yes, yes.
I asked you back then, Larry, do you believe that the tragedy that played out, the loss of this great young man who died at 21 from leukemia, was caused by the plant?
Absolutely.
Do you blame your government?
Yes.
Why?
They just let us down.
Did you know?
No.
Obviously you didn't know or you wouldn't have been there, right?
Learning more today.
I want to just give one thing. First of all, this guy's a coach and just salt of the earth great man. And I mean that. I don't say that really loosely. Larry is an incredible guy. You called Zach your best friend. He was your best friend.
Yes.
You lost your best friend.
Yep.
Beyond losing your best friend, how much was taken from you?
No, that's everything right there. Yeah.
Has it ever been the same for you?
No, absolutely not.
All right. Larry, thank you for your time. It's good seeing you again.
Good to see you
look
again.
great.
Yeah.
I've come to know this family, and you brought them all, didn't you? Sure did. Go ahead and stand up for me. This is Brad and Michelle Likens. You had 5 children.
Yes.
And I say had 5 children.
Correct.
You lost your only son.
Correct.
You're wearing the shirt.
Yeah.
Braden.
Yes.
The amazing thing about Braden is he died from leukemia. That's not unusual, is it, around here? That happened in 2021?
Correct.
He was just 13 years old.
Correct.
I know this is a very difficult question. Your only son, you were bonding. He hadn't come into his own yet. He was a great young man. You loved him. I saw the videos. It's amazing. How much do you miss him?
I can't put that in perspective, how much I miss him.
It feels like a part of yourself is actually missing.
When I see the sadness, and believe me, we've cried together. I've been there and watched out. It's devastated you, yes?
Yes.
So let me tell you this story about how this happened and why it's so devastating. You had no warning. Your son went in to be checked because he wasn't feeling well on a Saturday, and he died on a Monday, the following Monday.
Correct.
You lost him in a matter of days, perfectly healthy and happy.
Correct.
Next thing, he has leukemia, and they say, we can't do anything, he's gone.
Exactly.
Yes. They actually said, you know, your son has leukemia and he's bleeding on his brain. And it wasn't even within an hour he was screaming in pain and asking us, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Over and over again, until they had to put him under to stop him from thrashing and carrying on, and he never woke back up.
And that's when you said, Brad, take him quickly.
Exactly. It was my prayer.
Your prayer was answered, but you lost your son.
Yes, correct.
You still trying to understand what this is?
His white cell blood count was 154,000, which is equivalent to about 15 adults.
You live on Sugar Run Road in Piketon.
Correct.
You have a lot of death and cancer in your family.
Correct.
Do you think about the plant? Do you think about where you live? Are you trying to get out?
Yes.
You have 4 daughters.
Amazing daughters.
Yeah. And by the way, just for your purposes, this family prayed for me.
Correct.
I mean, you prayed for me.
Always.
I'm like, are you kidding me? And he wanted this, and you wanted this. What do you hope for today?
I hope for everyone in this room to get answers and for us to not be silent anymore. And I just want to say I'm sorry for anybody that's lost anybody they love to this place.
And you believe it's Ports?
I believe it's Ports, yes, I do.
Yes, definitely.
I am so sorry about your loss. I thank you for sharing it. You're a good man. I want to go to the next interview. You saw her earlier. This is Shauna Mullins. Hi, Shauna. Hi. We've talked quite a bit. Shauna helped organize this. In 2015, at the end of his 8th grade year, your son, Garrett Houston, who attended South Webster Middle School, a good ways from here, was diagnosed with AML leukemia. He died less than a year later. Tell me about your son.
Garrett was always the kid that didn't really fit in, but he loved everyone. He was always a jokester. He showed him 4-H. He played baseball. He played soccer. He was never the top player or anything, but, you know, he was just a kid. He was a very good kid.
I know you miss him. You also had a stillborn.
Yes.
That they haven't explained what really happened there.
No, I was 38 weeks pregnant, and he passed away.
I understand that a doctor told you that he believed Garrett's leukemia was caused by environmental exposure.
Yes. They told us, you know, with his age and everything, that him never working as an adult, that it had to be environmental, something he was exposed to in the environment.
You, for a short time, lived with your father, who worked at the plant.
Yes.
Garrett and your 2 other sons, 3 other sons, sorry, lived there. I'm told the children would play with the lunchbox that he had at the plant. I'm told they would be around what he had at the plant. Do you believe it might be connected to that?
I mean, there's no question something had to have happened. I mean, because we lived with my dad about 6 months before Garrett was diagnosed, so it's like, and my dad was in the major decontamination and everything out there, so I can't imagine that he wouldn't have brought something home.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for helping us, too. She's been amazing. I'm going to move on to one more. Hi, Bob. Say hello to Bob Malone. Bobby Malone was his son.
Yes. Yes.
Rhabdo.
Carcinoma.
Yep. Rhabdo.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he died in 1987.
When he was 2 years old, a 6-pound tumor was removed from your son.
Yeah. Sorry.
You don't have to
I'm so
apologize.
sorry hearing these stories, but I have lived through some dark places.
You've never been the same since you lost your son.
No.
You said it ruined your life.
I was studying to be a preacher, and I turned, and I've been in some dark places. And I just want to tell them, I'm so sorry for your losses. You know, I pray for your families. I just want my son to be recognized.
Bobby Malone was your son, and he is being recognized. He was, by the way, this goes back a ways too. This pain is deep. 1987, Halloween, when he died. You lost everything, you said, when he died.
Yeah.
Your life unraveled.
Definitely.
Yeah. You lived on Bobo Road. That's near Happy Hollow.
Yeah.
That's very close to Ports.
Yeah. And they was working at nighttime up on McCorkle Ridge, slipping radiation out, and at night, and didn't tell none of us.
So they were working the dirt, the trucks were going past, and you knew that was happening.
We knew that happened, and we didn't know they was digging radiation up. And they slipped it out, and Bobby played in the yard less than a mile from him, straight down to Bobo Road. And he was diagnosed and lived 2 years.
You worked at Ports for 3 years, it looks, 92 to 95. You said you had to make a living.
Yep.
But you did move from that road.
Yes, I moved from that road
You
immediately.
went to a home.
He went before he was sick.
Yeah.
That is him.
You cute little boy.
And he was a wonderful kid. And
So when you moved to Bobo Road, you moved to a home that's 10 miles from Ports. You're still there, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think you live far enough away to get away from any danger that you think
All
is there?
my family's here, so no, I would like to be in a complete other state, to tell you the truth, but my family's here, my roots is here. And
I appreciate your time. I'm sorry
you
for your emotion.
yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I want to go to the panel. Wes Harriston. Wes, if you can get to the podium, I want to ask you a few questions here. I asked you a question before, Wes, that is kind of startling. Wes was behind the decision after Zons Corner Middle School was already closed. He supported the closure. He didn't put anyone back in it. I want to ask you a point-blank question. Are you still seeing cancer in the kids who attend these schools?
I want to say something before I answer the question. My prayers go out to all those families that lost young people. Saw Zach Farmer throw baseballs when he was in the 8th grade. My son came up here from Lawrence County, played a couple games in a fall league on Zach's team, and he caught Zach for an inning, or he tried to catch Zach for an inning. And I'll never forget when we were driving home, he said, "Dad, I've caught a lot of people, but I've never seen anybody throw the ball like that. And I've coached high school baseball for a really long time, and I can tell you that Zach Farmer would have played big league baseball." But to answer your question, the last group of kids that went through Zons Corner Middle School are now seniors. There has not been one reported case of cancer since we removed students from that school. So I want to go a little further with that question, if I may.
Sure, that I'm hearing you. Since Zons was closed, you are not seeing cancer in the children?
No.
Who attend these schools?
That's correct. The last group of students that went through there are now seniors. There is not one student that I'm aware of. Now, there could be, I'm not somebody there that I don't know about, but not one reported case. And of course, all those students below the 12th graders, none of them have been through that school.
So let me follow up. How many of these kids are dealing with cancer in their families, their parents, their family members? Is that something that the school is always aware of, that cancer is here?
We would be. And to this point, I'm not aware of anything beyond what happened with the current senior class. And you asked me one time a question in another forum. Do I think the DOA knew it? Yes, I do.
You knew that it was contaminated?
Absolutely, I believe that. If you looked at the number of deaths in this community and the cancer rates that exist in this community, it far exceeds anything remotely close to Lawrence County, Scioto County, or other places in the United States.
So the numbers are irrefutable, yet when Zahn's Corner and when we talked to Dr. Ketterer, who did the analysis of the samples from there, when it was pointed out that enriched uranium was inside, a follow-up was done by the DOE, that Department of Energy, that said, it's okay, it's not going to harm you. And you're still saying that they know they got a problem.
Absolutely, I believe that. I mean, how could they have such a facility knowing what it's for? Now, we all know it's here to protect us in the Cold War, and some of those things were going on in the world at the time, and that's nice and wonderful. But the frustrating thing to me, people in this community have suffered. I'm not from here, but I've lived here for the last 6 years, and it's astounding to me that what this community has went through, yet can't get help. We are currently received $20 million from the federal government to build a new school, as you see when you come
Is
in.
that enough?
Yeah.
Was
yeah,
that
we're $2
enough?
million short. I approached the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission and applied for a grant for $2 million, a little over $2, back on September the 17th. And I was denied, didn't find out till 3 weeks ago. They didn't even bother to tell me. So the state of Ohio has done nothing. Maybe they view it as a federal issue, I don't know. But whatever, the state has done absolutely nothing.
You know, it's strange times when that gets applause because it's validating what everybody's seeing. I want to ask you one last question, Wes. I have also a great amount of respect for you. You're a true gentleman. You didn't hesitate anytime I asked for help in this community. You opened up the school, you opened up the auditorium, you have facilitated, my God, you've measured your own podium when I asked if we have measurements for it. You've been there. Why are you going to this kind of length to support things like this?
I think it's important to support the community and the people here and what they've been through. You know, when the school shut down Zahn's Corner, it clearly made the right decision, and that was a few months before I came to Piketon. And, you know, sometimes there's been a little bit of debate since I've been here about that. The school made the right decision. I didn't become the superintendent until August of 19, but they made that decision in May of 19. It is clearly correct. And we will continue to fight. There are two responsibilities that basically the superintendent has. Number one, it's my job to make sure each one of your students and school-age kids that live here receive a free, appropriate public education. But there's one other thing that I have focused on since I've been a superintendent, not just here, but when I was a superintendent in another district. The most important thing that I feel like I have to do is to protect your children. When they come through the doors here, they're safe. And I will always continually fight for that as much as I can. We have people here that carry weapons. Why? Not because I'm a Second Amendment nut. I think it's the right thing to do to protect your children from external forces that may come in and hurt it. One of those external forces, not in those terms, but it's important for us to continue to fight wherever we can to try to raise money to finish this school and to support those people like those folks sitting right there that have lost young ones. I can't imagine the pain that you feel. And trust me, I will pray for you every day and in the hopes that all becomes well. I can't imagine.
Thank you. We'll get back to you in a second. Thank you so much. Michael Ketterer, Dr. Michael Ketterer. If you can go to the podium. Again, I keep referring to Dr. Ketterer because he's been so important in this community to understanding at least where contamination. When you started, I believe DOE was saying it's not us, there is no contamination, at least some of the public forums I saw. You started with Zahn's Corner, but you've been busy, you never stopped. I just want to ask a simple question. You live in Arizona, you have loose ties to Ohio, kind of. You came in here and you did this, and you put yourself on the line for all kinds of criticism, and I just want to know why. Why did you decide to care about this place?
Well, I think the reason to the why is because I see the truth about whether something is contaminated or not as an objective reality that has to be stated. I kind of think like I'm a goal judge at a hockey game or I'm an umpire at a baseball game, and people are not going to be happy with me when I say that is not a strike, and this one is definitely a strike. And when it comes down to Zahn's Corner, what I did is I tested some wipe samples that community member Elizabeth Lamerson collected in the attic, and the simple answer was my laboratory tests using the same methodologies as the DOE shows that yes, there's enriched uranium in there, and it could only have come from the Department of Energy. So Zahn's Corner was in the plume of contamination, folks.
So you're following breadcrumbs. Safe is the tricky word here, but you went from Zahn's Corner, the original assessment, you showed enriched uranium, you were crucial to a lot of things. I was up in Chick Lawson's attic, which you examined and showed heavy levels of enriched uranium. You've looked at plants. You're just piecing it together on the footprint of this. Let me make sure I understand this. When DOE says there is no health threat, does more need to be done to prove there is?
Well, I think we started this meeting with listening to the victims, and I really, really express my heartfelt sorrow to everybody in this community who has suffered. And I know suffering from environmental disaster myself, but the victims are the center of this. I want to honor the victims by being here today and helping the community answer its questions.
And I know in dealing with you that is heartfelt. I want to ask a really critical question about the science. The U.S. Department of Energy pays an enormous amount of money to universities and research centers across the country. Do you believe a truly independent study, independent, is possible?
Independence is really hard on account of the Upton-Sinclair principle, Duane. You can't get somebody to understand something when their salary depends upon them not understanding it. So academics are just as bought off as every other group.
I'm coming back to you. I could ask you a million questions and have in the past, but thank you. Dr. Menuda, Dr. David Menuda is the former chief scientist at Ports. So, Dr. Menuda, when we went through over the past 5 years, there were things that were coming up that you, as the chief scientist at the facility, when it was running, were not aware of. That includes plutonium that's been proven in Russian supplies, all the way down to a fire that occurred at the plant that you were told was caused by one reason, and yet you found out it was another reason. I want to ask you, do you feel that you've been played in the past, and do you have a different truth now?
Yes, and yes to all of those questions.
I want to ask you about venting at ports in the past. The process, everybody, just so you know, what happens with enriching uranium? I'm going to get there quickly because your answer's longer. Enriching uranium is heating up basically uranium hexafluoride. He could tell you all about it, but it goes through the cascade and they harvest the stuff that they need. I won't get into detail for energy rods and for our bombs. In that, it has to be vented, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was the venting occurring on a regular basis?
Yes, sir.
Was there a thing called a midnight rocket?
Yes.
As quickly as you can. What was a midnight rocket?
The product needed to be withdrawn in specification so it could be used either by the utility companies or by the military. And so anything that would potentially have made the product out of spec was vented.
So the venting, just so you know, was a compressor of sorts that shot it through a pipe. I think it was on the side of the building in the middle. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it was a main pipe that would relieve the pressure. Was the venting radioactive material?
Almost certainly yes.
Was it enriched?
From that building, yes.
That was the 326?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 326 is the end of the line. That's where you get the highest, what they call assay. I had to learn all this. But that is the most important product that goes into bomb making. Big time threat. And you're saying that gas from this building at the very high end of contamination was being shot out of that plant on a regular basis through a thing called midnight rockets.
Yes, sir.
It counted on the atmosphere taking it away, didn't it?
That's correct. They thought that it would diffuse and then be at very, very low levels.
It didn't work out that way.
No, sir.
The building became contaminated. The answer, as I understand it, and I looked through the documents and you can attest, was to put a different compressor that was more powerful and roughly double the pipe on the facility. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you think you've been lied to by your own government, sir?
Yes.
Do you regret your time there?
No.
But you were lied to?
No question.
Dr. Minuta, thank you.
Yes.
I want to talk to April Haar. April Haar, I found out about you very recently. You live a bit of ways from here. You're in Bucyrus.
Now, yes.
Used to live here. You lived very near the plant in Fox Run Apartments, right?
Apartments.
Okay.
Like 5 minutes away from it, maybe.
You have cancer all over.
Rectal mets to the liver, mets to the lungs.
You had 20 tumors.
Yes.
20.
20.
18 are gone.
Yes, 19 are gone.
19 are gone.
Yes.
But the lung in your tumor is continuing to grow.
Yes. Unfortunately.
You're facing chemo right now.
I'm in chemo every 2 weeks.
Not right now, but soon back in it.
Right.
How much do you blame where you lived here for what you're facing now?
I blame completely everything on that plant. I was found that it wasn't genetic. I wasn't born with this. It was a genetic that was mutated by an outside force.
So she sent, just so you know, she sent paperwork to me that shows that there was a mutation at a deep level. I'm not a doctor, but it appears to indicate radiation as an effect. So the mutation that happened to you appears to be related to an exposure.
Right. Yep. Years of exposure.
So radiation caused mutation, caused the cancer, and here you are.
Yep.
I want to ask you, you could do anything at this point, and you're battling for your life. Why are you here?
Because I think that EPA should do something about this. There needs to be a voice for cancer patients. This shouldn't happen. They shouldn't be lying to people like they are. This is wrong. This is completely wrong.
Do you think you're going to, the battle, you're still underway, you've made progress, you're going to make it?
I believe so, yeah, I hope so. I'm scared.
Of course you are. We'll be praying for you. Thank you so much for coming in. Sheila Curtis is not here. She had to be scratched. Sheila Curtis is undergoing radiation treatment and was ill. Couldn't make it today. She has a horrible story as well. This is Cheryl Day. Hi, Cheryl. Cheryl, read with me. Breast cancer diagnosed first time in 2014. Last year it came back.
Yes.
You're now stage 4?
Stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, but it's all throughout my body.
You have brain?
It's on my brain, my lungs, my liver, my back.
3 rounds of radiation. What are we doing?
Presently, I'm taking a chemo pill, and I'm going to have scans at the end of this month to see if I need to have more radiation.
Where'd you live?
I grew up in the Camp Creek area, and then I moved over in Yankee Hill.
So we're seeing some indication, because the work that the moms and I have done on looking at the total cancer picture, it's the beginnings of a community health survey that's nowhere near. That's kind of needed around here, but I keep hearing things like Camp Creek, I hear Bobo Road, I hear all of these things. There seem to be a lot of places where you see it. You were living there. Do you believe contamination made its way to you and caused your cancer?
Yes, I do.
From the plant?
From the plant, because it was not in my family.
No workers there?
No workers.
So where you lived created the cancer you fight?
Yes, I do believe that.
We'll be praying for you. Thank you so much. I'm going to skip ahead here to you, young lady. This is Heather Bennett. We met not long ago, did we? Yep. Heather is stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It's a terminal cancer.
Yeah, it went to my bones.
It's in your bones.
And now I have a new spot that's on my brain. We're investigating Monday, so I'm scared.
You said that over and over again. It's frightening. You have 2 girls.
I have 2 girls. My senior attended, they both attended Zons, but I'll never forget the day they called off the bus and said, "Mommy, we don't have to go back to school." And I was just diagnosed. And I said, "Why?" And, you know, they didn't really know why until I learned later. And then I thought, what about my kids? You know, I sent my girls there thinking they were safe.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Battling every day to stay alive.
Every day.
You told me when I originally talked to you, Heather, you told me you don't have hope.
No, there's no hope. Not around here. We get no answers. We get lied to. Everything's okay. But we keep getting diagnosed and dying.
Are you on chemo today?
Every 3 weeks for the rest of my life.
You said no one's coming to the rescue.
No.
You're dying. Cancer's everywhere. I want to ask you this because your battle is to stay alive, but to prevent death from coming quickly. You want to be there for your girls.
I want to watch my girls walk this stage literally to graduate. That's all I want, to see them grow up, to know my grandkids. That's all I want. That's all I'm asking for.
Do you believe people around here matter?
Yeah, yeah. We all matter, but not to who's causing the problem, not to who's killing us. We don't matter.
And that is?
The DOE.
It's good seeing you. Thank you. Tough stories. Tough stories. I want to go to a quick round here to try to get through this. I want to go to Dennis Foreman. I want to really ask you a quick question. When I call your name, run to this podium, please. You've heard the stories. What's the answer? Quickly, what is the answer?
We need to be heard. We need to be respected, and enough is enough. I'm tired of it. And you know what? Our voices mean a lot too, and the hell with them. I'm done. I love you.
Jerry Miller, as quickly as you can. Jerry.
Sir.
Are you equally upset, and are you committed to a solution? Not that it's new. If you're committed to the solution, what is it?
I'll ask the second part, or answer the second part first. We're absolutely committed to a solution. What that solution looks like, I'm not smart enough to tell you, but I think it starts with a comprehensive epidemiological study that is third party, that is not associated with DOE. When we have at least identified what we have, at that point we can start looking into what is causing this and how did this plume reach here and so on and so forth. But again, my position is a comprehensive epidemiological study by a third party.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
And Matt, I wanted you to come. Thank you so much, Jerry. Matt, we talked about it a little bit, but right to the point. We heard you can't get a truly independent third-party kind of study with the kind of influence. Are you also saying that we need an independent study? That's the only place to go here?
I'm perfectly fine. There needs to be a study. What Jerry said is exactly right. There's parts of our independent study that weren't done and that need completed. So I'm perfectly fine with that. And we need answers. We need help. We need people above us to listen. We need people north of 270 to realize that we matter down here. Rural Appalachia matters. And I'm not a politician, but I realized early on we started dealing with this that our people, to some, don't matter. Rural Appalachia matters, and if the school would have been built, a new school would have been built in 1 year if it was in any other area, but here I believe that 100%. So.
Thank you, Matt. Dr. Ketterer. You and I, Dr. Ketterer, have had a lot of talks about this. What is the goal? You're doing some of this across the country. My goodness, we were out in New Mexico dealing with the downwinders there. I'm going to refer to that later. So what is needed? Quickly, what is needed?
What is needed in Piketon? You guys need perpetual environmental monitoring, not just one and done. You need it all the time till the end of time. And you need to take that matter into your own hands. Right here at Piketon High School, I can assure you that in this graduating class, there are competent enough chemists to do what I do.
I appreciate
it. And that's what I'd like to see happen here. The talent exists right here, and we don't need experts from DOE to tell us what to do here.
That's a great answer. I'm going to wait with Wes. We're getting tight on time. I want to go to Joe Mangano on Zoom if he's still there. Joe, are you still there? Joe, can you hear me? Okay, Joe, can you hear me? That's a lovely pose, don't you think? Joe, I'm going to try one last time. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, Duane, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Okay, I'm going to give it one last try. Joe, can you hear me? Okay, I don't think he can hear us well. We've had a bit of a muffle issue. I'll come back and have a different one. Wes, can you go ahead and tell us what you think needs to happen? Thank you.
Well, first of all, it's been great to have this forum today, and I hope it's been informative and everybody's appreciated the opportunity to be here and hear all these great speakers behind me. I think the most important thing needs to happen in Pike County with respect to the plant. I think we need to find out where the contamination came from. If it came from the plant, how do we fix it? You know, that's always a question that should come to mind. How do we correct what the problem is here? How do we remediate all the issues that have existed here? How do we take care of the families that are sitting out here that have had to pay a price for the cost of the Cold War? So my heart goes out to each and every one of you, and I would hope that if we all work together, that solutions can be found in an honest way to try to make things better for the community. It's a great community to live in and to work in, and the people here care, and they care about each other. So I hope that the folks at the DOE would be willing to be open and honest and try to work with the people here and make it a safe, great place to live as it is. Thank you for your opportunity, for this opportunity.
Thank you. I want to get us out of here so you still have a day ahead of you. So I did some quarterback audible here. I want to do something before I get into the final thoughts. And I think it's important. This community's been devastated by the loss. You wear children's pictures on your shirts who've been taken from you. I think it's appropriate right now that we all have a moment of silence together and remember the victims who can't be here today to give their voice. Please. All right, folks, thank you. I want to give you my final thoughts. I've spent so much time here in Pike County. My wife knows it's my second home. People on social media don't even ask where I'm going anymore. It's Pike County, Piketon, and Ports to get a ticket, apparently. But I come to this area because it reminds me of home. I'm just a kid from a small town. I've traveled the world, I've been everywhere, and I believe in you. I really do. And trust me when I say I feel your pain and sense of abandonment at a very deep level. I know what that feels like. I grew up in it, too. This town hall puts faces to the figures. Moms, dads, sons, daughters, you're all suffering from cancer. Far too often you're dying. That should be clear to anyone. Anyone. The numbers are there. It's also equally clear, and I say this very carefully and very precisely, the government agencies that you pay for with your taxes have done virtually nothing to get to the bottom of what's causing your suffering and deaths. Nothing. They'll say one thing, but if they cared about that reality, they were all invited. They're not here. Now, doesn't mean they have to be. From a fairness position, they'll give you an answer, but they have a moral duty to look you in the eyes and give you the truth. When I first came to Pike County 5 years ago, I was told by many here, people in this part of the state, don't matter. At the time, I'm like, what are you talking about? After 5 years, I now completely understand what you're saying. I know what you're saying. While you've been forgotten by far too many leaders, you're not alone. Take a look around this room, people. Do it. Look around the room. This room is filled with your neighbors, your friends, your family, and people you don't know. Didn't know till today, did you? Not really. You're all here together, and you've filled a good portion of an auditorium to tell your truth. Don't forget this site, please. When everyone else fails you, you have each other, right? And when you gather in numbers, you will be heard. I promise you. Together, you, the great people of this section of the state that I care about, you can and should push back for more. You should push back together. I said I joined Dr. Ketterer a couple of years ago in the desert of New Mexico. We were covering the downwinders. That's the group of people who were fighting to be compensated from the first atomic bomb, the Oppenheimer bomb. They too feel that they've been forgotten, but they haven't given up. They're fighting together. They're demanding to be included in something called the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act. That's called RECA. Right now, RECA provides money to just 20 people in 22 counties under the original test ground in Nevada, the nuclear bombs. There's no reason why you shouldn't be covered under this. No reason at all. Because you faced your own form of fallout too. There's no question. Because of the efforts, this town hall provides proof that organization, hard work, commitment can bring numbers that matter. Is everybody familiar with your constitutional rights? You think you are? So there's a 14th Amendment. It was passed in 1868. It states the government shall not deprive anyone of life, liberty, or property. And they started with life. Even if Ports, the A plant, was taken out of the argument, people are still dying here at a shocking rate. And that means your government has a constitutional duty to find out why, doesn't it? Together, you're strong enough to demand our leaders live up to that duty. Finally, again, look around. With all the sickness and despair, all the cancer, all the death, all the misery, you came here today to speak your truth, to gather together as one. That, my friends, means you haven't lost hope. You haven't lost hope. Hope is the most powerful force when it comes to change. We're going to be right here covering this. We're not going away. We're going to figure this out together because that's what we do. You do matter. And you have mattered for a very long time. We got to get the government involved. Right? Let's do that. All right. So I do want to thank you all for being here. It means everything in the world. And I want to make sure you understand that Local 12, Sinclair Broadcast Group, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for trusting us to tell your stories. Don't stop. I appreciate it. Thank you all. That'll end the program. Thank you.